Hey guys, EBPMAN here, and today we're going to go over a series of tips, tricks, some would call it hidden features of the Samsung Gear S3 Classic and Frontier. First of all, I want to thank you all for all your support. There's been a tremendous amount of, I would say, views and comments and a lot of the videos on bands and overall conversation with the Classic and Frontier. And in today's video, what I wanted to do is share with you is a series of tips, tricks, some may call it even hidden features, things that people overlook on when using the Gear Frontier or Gear Classic. So hopefully these are going to help you experience your watch to the fullest, and they're things that make my life much more enjoyable when using these watches. Let's go ahead and check them out. So the first tip I wanted to share with you is what do you do in the event that your Classic or Frontier becomes unresponsive? It's just not working. So what you're going to do is the home button, which is also your power button, you're going to press and hold, and you're going to hold it, and you'll continue to hold it for over 11 seconds. And what will happen is the phone, or in this case the watch, will reboot. If this was the Frontier, which was a phone and watch combo, it will reboot. If it is the Classic, it will reboot. So this is how you get out of a frozen state if that ever happens to you. Now most of us are used to using the rotating bezel to navigate and to move around. One thing I just wanted to mention is that you could still use the swipe to swipe from left to right as you're navigating screens. So for some of us this may be a lot easier than using the rotating bezel. So kind of an obvious one, but it's also a tip. Now this tip is a two-parter, meaning I'm going to give you two tips in one. First of all, there will be a time, depending on how much you use your gear, where the phone may become sluggish, and that's because there's too many apps opening or still open. And I'm going to show you first of all how do you close it. The second thing is I find that the S-Voice functionality is not as useful as you would find like Google Voice. So this button here, if you want to get into S-Voice, you can press it 2 times and it will bring up S-Voice. But like I said, S-Voice isn't that useful. I prefer to have this button mapped to my recent applications so that I can close them. So let me show you how you do that. Alright, so make that change. What you're going to do is I'm going to rotate over. I'm going to go into settings. I'm then going to rotate until I find device, and I can swipe down as well if I wanted to. I'm going to choose device, and then you'll notice it has double press home key and it has S-Voice as what will take place. If you tap this, you can actually rotate and change it to be whatever you want it to be. You can go into your reminders, you can go to your phone, you can go into news briefing, music player. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to move up, and I'm looking for recent apps. So I'm going to choose that as my option. So now when I choose the double press home, it's going to take me to my recent apps. So let's go back and see how this works. We'll go back all the way out, and what we'll do is we'll just go home. So I'm going to press this twice, and now what happens is I have apps. And just like Android, and even on iOS, where if you have too many apps open and the operating system doesn't handle it well, what you could do is close one app, or what you could do is close all. This is going to make sure that your battery life is extended, as well as give you a quick way to restore the performance of your watch. Now this feature here comes in really useful for me. This is one of the ones I really enjoy, and it has all to do about accessing apps. So you know that you can highlight each one of the apps by going around in a circle, and then once you find the app that you want to get into, you just tap and then you go into the app. Well, what if it could be selected automatically once you've highlighted it? So the effect of moving around like this is in essence selecting or highlighting. Let me show you how that's done. So the first thing we're going to do is go into settings. Then what we're going to do is go to device, select that. Now we're going to scroll down, and you notice that feature says auto open. We're going to choose that. I'm going to say OK. And now that we've selected it, let's go home. Now let me show you what the difference is. As I go into the apps and I stop on an app, it auto opens. And it does it after a couple seconds. That makes it a lot easier and much faster in selecting apps. Now the other tip I wanted to give you has to do with using your watch for sleep tracking. One of the things that most phones have, and this is in iOS as well as in Android phones, is do not disturb capability. And this is something that I turn on. I turn on the do not disturb capability because what I don't want is to feel my wrist vibrating or getting text messages, or if someone sends me a message, for it to do that at night and then wake me up. So what I do is every night, I obviously go into this area and I choose Do Not Disturb. Well, once you choose you Do Not Disturb, you can turn it on manually or you can have it done automatically. In other words, on a schedule. Let me show you how to set up the schedule. So to set it up on a schedule, we're going to go into Settings again. We're going to go down to Device, and we're going to skip some of the things that we've already seen, and we're going to go to Do Not Disturb. Now, just like the swipe that we just saw, that if we take it from the top, there is a on and off function. But if you go down, you notice it's a schedule. So what I do is I set up the schedule. I turn it on, and notice how I have the days. I can select which days I want the schedule to be active. And then what I could also do is establish a time and an end time. So let's say, for example, you go to bed at 10 o'clock every night, and you want to stop any kind of notifications, vibrations coming to your watch because you're going to go to sleep. You can set this up so automatically at 10 at night, you get Do Not Disturb, and then at, let's say, 5 o'clock in the morning, because you get up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, turn it off automatically so that any kind of notifications coming in, you'll feel them. Now, this next tip is for those of you who live in climates where you experience snow. I'm in the Midwest, I'm in Chicago, and we have snow, which means I'm going to be wearing gloves because it's also cold outside. Using the watch with gloves becomes pretty challenging. So this is how you enable the function, and you don't have to buy those special gloves. You know how there are those gloves that are smartphone friendly? You don't have to do that. All you have to do is go into Device. You're going to come down to where it says Touch Sensitivity, and you're going to enable that. Once you enable it, gloves, and I'm talking about normal gloves, knit gloves, leather gloves, even those big North Face gloves that are kind of makes you look like you're a spaceman, will work when you turn this sensitivity on. You won't have problems navigating the screen at all. Now, the next tip I want to give you is around nudges and the actual fitness notifications, which could become annoying. Now, for those of you who want to be constantly reminded, you wouldn't turn this off, but the watch will constantly remind you. Walk a little bit. If you're working out, it's also going to give you some notifications, and maybe you don't need those. So in order to modify that, what you're going to go into is S Health, and you're going to rotate. And as you're rotating the bezel, you're going to make your way all the way over to Settings. Notice that you have a Settings area here. Now, in addition to setting, going into your profile, you notice this is where you can enable the nudges or disable them. This is inactive time notifications, step notifications, floor notifications, exercise notifications. There are tons of notifications. So what you can do is you can turn these off because it does become annoying when it's constantly reminding you. Now, if you purchase this smartwatch in order to be more healthier and more active, then you may want to leave those on. But in my case, I'm active, I don't need the nudges, and matter of fact, I think that it's a waste of battery, so I turn them off. So this concludes my tips and tricks for the Gear S3 Frontier or Classic. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, leave it below. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click on this video if you're interested in more things about the Gear S3 Classic or Frontier. Thanks for watching.